Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of The Tea. Y'all, we had such a great time the last time with Miss Kim Fields. So tonight we are going to have another great author on with us. Hey, Dina, how are you?
Well, how are you, Deborah?
I am awesome, awesome, awesome. What you probably don't know is that we are authors as well. And so to close out, our month of perseverance, we wanted to come on and talk about how we as authors had to persevere to get to that end state. So, what, Dina, you just finished the book, honey. So tell us, what was some of the key things that you had to do to persevere and to, for lack of better term, just to get started and to finish?
Well, I've been wanting to write a book for years, and more recently I'm in a coaching group, and they, part of the requirement is to write a book, but I was really struggling with what to write about exactly. What would be interesting enough for me to spend that amount of time writing it. And so that was very important to identify. So it seems like I wrote the book fast, but it actually took a lot of that work that you don't see, trying to figure out what to do and sort of sticking with that as a plan, even when it felt like I was behind. That was really very important for me to just get clarity.
Right. And I totally understand, because I think the biggest hurdle for me when I wrote my book, and even when I wrote the second one, was the bottom line of just getting started. It was like I couldn't get it together, and it seemed like everything was happening because, as entrepreneurs, as authors, as like you, as a mom, as an educator, how in this whole perseverance thing, how did you juggle family with all of that? Because I know it was hard for me, and my family's out of state. How did you do it? And your family's literally right there with you.
Well, I sometimes write when my daughter's home. She's home right now and I'm doing this. So that just becomes part of your life. And you think it's challenging, but it's just life. And authors have lives.
What a concept, because I don't think they think we have lives. It's just like, as a teacher, when you see your students in the grocery store, I'm like, I got to
buy groceries. I too eat.
Yes. And it is just so amazing because to persevere, and like I tell everybody, perseverance means so many different things to so many different people, that it's like, some of us that quote unquote didn't grow up with the silver spoon in our mouths, that grew up, let's say, in the inner city, or those of us that may have grown up in the suburbs, is like perseverance is perseverance. It just may look different for you, and it may look different for me. How would you explain perseverance to somebody that you just met? Say a young doctor that's coming along. How would you explain perseverance to get to where you are now?
I mean, perseverance is faith. It's the determination to keep going even when things get hard. People have a much lower pain tolerance now because everything is supposed to be instant and it's supposed to be your way. So I think perseverance starts to look different in the modern times. We always think of the extreme example of the person who is, running from the army, pillaging their village, and made it somewhere else. And that, of course, takes perseverance. But you almost have, fire to your feet there.
Yeah.
It's external things. Sometimes, I've been around people who are very rich, very poor, some people who've got silver spoons in their mouths. And sometimes that erodes a person's confidence, and they have issues with persevering because they're used to the world delivering things. And when that doesn't happen and it has to come from them, they don't always have the confidence that they can make it happen.
Exactly. Well, we got some people on with us. Hey, Charlotte. Charlotte said, good evening. Margarita said, hey, ladies. Hey, Margarita. And Margarita says, yes, it does mean different things. Most definitely. And Charlotte said, LOL. I think she's talking about when we were talking about the authors going to the grocery store. She said, but I still can imagine an author at Kroger's shopping for lettuce. Charlotte, I don't know where you are, but I don't think they know where Kroger's is. But Kroger's is my favorite store, honey. I would definitely, if I was in Texas, you would see me in Kroger's. Yes, indeed. Charlotte also said perseverance, faith. Thank you, Miss Stark. She's talking to you,
Dina.
Dina Strong. You know, and I was getting ready to mess up her name. Y'all, just so y'all know, just everybody knows, and it comes down to names, I will mess them up. I don't care how many times I have said them. It is always so funny. So
and mine is easy.
And right, and hers is easy. You should have seen. Oh my God, y'all just don't know. But y'all, we won't hold you. We have a fabulous author. Her name is Jessica Fauntleroy. She is the CEO of JL Inspires. We're gonna join her in with us. She is in the studio with us tonight, and she's gonna come on. Hey, Jessica.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we are so glad that you have joined us. Y'all, Jessica is the CEO and founder of JL Inspires. She is a social worker, excuse me, and she's just everything. So Jessica, tell us, who are you? Tell us about you.
Well, I am originally from West Baltimore, Maryland, where I grew up in the inner city, like, you know, a lot of stories say. I am a clinical social worker. I am a mother. I am a Howard University graduate. I am an author, most importantly, as it applies to this conversation, of 2 books, which I call transformational memoirs. My first one is called Restoring Broken Wings, a Redemption Story. And that was released in December of 2016. And most recently, I just published my second book, which is called Choosing to Live Royal, a West Baltimore story. And that is currently available on Amazon.com. And I released that this year. That's my second book.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Now, you said something, for those that don't know, West Baltimore is considered, I guess, one of the, how can I say it? More of a challenge area than in Baltimore. And if you look at the statistics of West Baltimore, would people even expect you to have 2 degrees, especially from 2 major universities? What does that look like coming from your neighborhood?
Well, in terms of West Baltimore, I think nationally people can understand it more from the perspective of Freddie Gray. The community that I was born and raised in is not too far from where Freddie Gray lived and died. When you read articles from the Washington Post and other major newspapers, there have been articles written about the life expectancy in West Baltimore, the health disparities in West Baltimore that are similar to that of Iraq and Afghanistan, third world countries. So when it comes to what perseverance has been like for me and being able to turn out the way that I did, I think that it's because I had a strong community behind me, a strong church, and most importantly, I just had ambition inside of me. I wanted to be bigger than where I was from. I knew that life existed better for me outside of there. I always felt like I was meant to be greater, basically, you know. So
basically, you're saying that your perseverance came from, for lack of a better statement, self-motivation.
Yes. I'm not a big fan of the word self-made, but in some instances, I just felt like when I was a child, I just always knew I would look out of the window. My grandfather, who I lived with as a child in the same neighborhood where Freddie Gray lived and died, was killed, and my life went into a spiral after that. I was 8 years old. And I remember looking out the window when I was a little girl saying, you know what? I know it's God. I know life is going to get better for me. I know I'm going to grow up and live far from this situation. And that stayed with me through middle school, through high school, through college, through graduate school, and even now.
That's amazing. Well, Nigeria has joined us. I'm going to go ahead and pull her up in the conversation. Walter Fulton said, hashtag queen on fire. He said, you are a queen on fire. I love it. I love it. And, you know, I would have to agree, because you are a queen and I appreciate your story. So it's like, Dina, did you have anything that you wanted to ask? And welcome, Nigeria. Hey, girl. So glad you're on with us. Nigeria, this is Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Hey, nice to meet you.
All right, Dina, did you have any questions for Jessica?
So, did you have anyone in particular that was really inspiring to you?
Yes. I think that I hate to say blessed because it's so simple, but I was blessed that throughout my life experience, I've had teachers. I had a strong church family when I was growing up. I grew up in a
Nigeria, this is Jessica. Oh, you can continue.
Okay, I grew up in a strong church where my pastor and leaders in my church were very supportive of myself and the dreams that I had, and they made sure that I stayed connected to summer camps and after school programs and parochial school and those things that research has shown, improves the outcomes of children in inner city communities. And so I think that, it definitely was a village approach that enabled me to, become the woman that I am right now. And so it wasn't just one people, it literally was a path of people that I call like lights who created this path for me to navigate my way out of what my situation was.
So. Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
That's great because, so many times we take our villages for
granted.
Yeah.
So
right.
Go ahead.
Right. And so for me, I'm still of that village mentality, even though now, I've made it out of my situation, but I still feel like it's my responsibility to do that same thing for, I have no specific amount of people that I would like to do that for, but I feel like that's my job. And that's why I became a social worker. And as you and I talked before, I told you that I worked in the same clinic that I went to as a little girl. I had worked for a larger organization before, but when the opportunity arose for me to work for this organization, I felt like this is finally my opportunity to go back to the place where I received my care and be a mental health provider in that same community.
Well, Jessica, tell us a little bit about your story as far as having to go back to that particular place. How did that? Because you know what, that is amazing, y'all. She's really being humble tonight. That is a big part of her perseverance story. So tell us about that, going back and working where you had to get assistance.
Right. So I grew up in a community, as I said before, that wasn't too far from where Freddie Gray grew up, and through experience there, I always went to school outside of the community in parochial school, but I lived there. And in my household, I had been something with a caregiver outside of my parents, who created a very difficult environment for myself and my brother. And it was so difficult and toxic to the point that it created a lot of mental health issues for me. It created, like a very abusive environment that literally almost stole my ambition from me. And it almost made me feel like I would never make it out of there. I never felt like I would make it out of there alive. And it was literally the ambition that I had that kept me focused, that kept me going to school, doing well. Because, now as I've grown in my career, abused children normally don't do this well in school. Abused children I was suicidal at 9, 10 years old. I was extremely depressed between the ages of like 10 to 16. Because of my living situation. And when I got 18, 19 years old, I was like, I'm getting away from here and I'm never coming back. I was like, I'm never coming back to this, And then through me being able to work through my issues, get my footing in my career, do a lot of mental health work, do a lot of work with God, I finally, once I got into my 30s and really got footed and got divorced and had children, I finally got to a point where I could go back. Because before, it was like my trauma was keeping me away from that. It was keeping me from really rediscovering how great I was, because I was seeing myself through this limited lens, because of what I had experienced.
Wow. Well, we got some comments, ladies. Charlotte Brooks says, church is often the divide between motivation and the lack of motivation, I believe. And Nigeria, I'll let you go with that, and then we'll come back to Jessica. And how would y'all respond to Charlotte on this one?
Okay, well, you know what? I understand. I think I understand what Charlotte is trying to say, which is sometimes you get a dual message when you are in the church, and that is that through Christ, you can do all things, you can be everything. But then when you say that you have an ambition, you have a goal, and there's something that you want to do, then there are other people who are like, oh, no, 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 now you can't be going over here. You can't do this. Oh, you can't be prosperous. You can't. Oh, slow down. And so I think I understand what Charlotte is trying to say, which is sometimes you may feel motivated. And then when you're doing something that the church doesn't understand or recognize, you might, have a little pushback that makes you not want to do it. And so you'll lose your motivation in that instance. Or you have some moments where you have certain places you go, you attend, and it's like, just pray about it. Just pray about it. And they don't encourage you to actually do the work that goes with that prayer. While God's hand can move, he don't need our help. He said he'll bless the work of our hands. Therefore, our hands have to move. We have to be doing something to get that part of the promise. And because that gets lost in translation, I think that may be like what Charlotte means. You get motivated, but there's also this moment where if it's not broken down right or consumed right, you can't do anything with that motivation afterwards.
Right.
I think that a difference for me in my situation is different because I grew up Catholic, right? So in my church, the preaching, like I got older and became Baptist and learned about that kind of thing like we just talked about. But I grew up in a church where social justice and normal values were, they were taught. So working hard and doing what you need to do for school and staying connected to community and social justice and, righteousness and service, those things were taught in my church. And so I had choir directors, Sunday school teachers. I grew up in a church with a priest who taught me about hard work. And even when he got placed in another church, because, priests get moved around, he would write me letters because he knew about what was going on in my household. I felt comfortable enough to reveal that to him. And he would write me letters where he would say, you can do it. You want to press through this. You want to become a wonderful woman. You're so smart. Just keep on sticking to your studies and you'll make it out of this. So
praise God.
My church was
I love it.
So it was,
and then Charlotte also said, such a blessing, Miss Fauntleroy. You are humble and a gracious person. Thank you, Charlotte, for those wonderful comments. And Shannan said, good evening, everyone. We need more talk about the subjects like this in our community. Most definitely.
Yes. And I think, and I'm wondering, Jessica, how would you, and what would you recommend or advise to adults? How you were able to overcome a lot of things, and it started out for you very young, but you didn't just persevere. You're at a place where you're able to thrive now. And there are some adults who are dealing with trauma, and they've survived. They've gotten past the trauma. They're not in that stage anymore. But now, how do they move into a place where they are thriving?
Well, when I got older, I became Baptist, right? And so I moved into this new realm of religious teaching. So, God was a big part of that, God and prayer. But then I've had a lot of therapy, and I've written a lot. Part of why I've written so much is for my own healing. So, it comes to a point where you have to separate yourself from your trauma and really put attention on it and put attention on doing the work that you need to do to overcome it, because I knew I didn't want to just live. I didn't want to just exist. I wanted to live. I didn't want to die and still be the same person inside of my mind. I felt like I deserved better than that.
Wow.
And I would comment to your point, Nigeria, is that people have to admit that they're hurt. Sometimes when people persevere and survive, they're so busy being strong. And then that's why all the drama comes up later, because it's still there. And it's when they feel safe. It's when they become successful. You see it with celebrities. This person is sitting on the top of the world. How come they're doing drugs and doing all this, unhealthy stuff that is wrecking their lives and sometimes ending their lives? It's because it was always there, and, they needed to address it. And it comes out.
Right, and I think that one of my favorite quotes from RuPaul, I really like RuPaul, is people will talk about like the outward things, and a lot of times it's the people inside of the house, inside of your head, that are all of these things. And until you face the demons that trauma and abuse left inside of you, you'll never move ahead. You'll move ahead on the outside, but on the inside, you'll basically be like dying on the inside. And I knew that when I felt like that, I think it was once I got 30 years old that I really was like, I'm done with this. I look good on the outside, but on the inside, I'm crumbling. Like, I can't get these memories out. I mean, I'm always anxious and I don't know why. I get sad and I don't know why. I can't eat sometimes and I don't know why. If I smell certain smells, I'm triggered. If I ride by certain buildings, I'm triggered. I'm tired of living life triggered all the time. And I finally was like, sat on the couch and did the work I needed to do. And now it's like, I can really recognize that in other people and I can help them be like, you need to work on it. You don't deserve to live life like this. And if I can be transparent, I don't know if my mother is watching. When I started taking my healing seriously, my mother started taking hers seriously.
Oh,
started going because ours is a generation. Ours is an intergenerational trauma.
Wow.
And so, I actually was living part of my mother's trauma. And because she was still living hers. And so once I started recognizing mine, and I started talking to her about it, she was like, I need to do something about it. And so she's been going to therapy, going to psychiatrists, working on herself as well. And I think it's so important because that's how you break curses. That's how you change families. That's how you change generations. And so that's what we made a decision. And it feels good. It really does.
It does. That's amazing. But going back to, you mentioned triggers. How can people who have not had the opportunity yet, they're still maybe a little, nervous, a little trepidatious about therapy or any of those things. How can they begin to acknowledge or recognize the things that are triggering them in their life so they can recognize, maybe I do need some help with this?
I think that people know that they have bad nerves. People use that word a lot. They'll be like, oh, I'm just acting irritable because I have bad nerves. Well, if certain things make your nerves get worse, then those are your triggers. And living in a constant state of anxiety will make your life shorter. So just that alone is enough to make people work on, focusing on and working on that trauma. Because if you look at data from, I think recently the CDC and the National Center for Childhood Trauma, it talks about adverse childhood experiences and how they affect your long-term health. So it's long-term health consequences in not facing your trauma. You could die younger because of heart disease. You could die younger because of stroke. You could die younger because of high blood pressure. You could die younger because of substance abuse. And I think that if we want to live and really live and thrive, that we have to, make a decision that we're going to open up that box that we decided to close and never open again.
So, all right. Yeah. Well, y'all, we got some comments. Charlotte Brooks is agreeing with us. Vicky Fauntleroy, would that be your mom? She gave us some heart smiley faces. Thank you, Mom. Shannon said Nigeria hit the nail on the head. And Charlotte said, great teachings in your church. Yes, indeed. And Charlotte responded to Shannon, Miss Lockley is an awesome and powerfully discerning author, smart as heck. And
thank you.
And Shannon said, now I'm stalking Jessica on Amazon. Yes, get her book. Vicky said, I love you so much, Jessica. I'm so proud of you. And you know what? That is amazing for a mother to be able to come on and say that she's proud of you, because in our journeys of perseverance, it's all ladies on here. How many of us have had to deal with the battling of the mothers and trying to persevere with a mom that's supportive and that could be overly supportive, and a mother that could not be supportive at all? And so to have your mom come on and say that she's proud of you, how does that make you feel at this moment?
It makes me feel good because I feel proud of her. I've always been one of those kids who's been overprotective of their mother. In my book, Choosing to Live Royal West Baltimore story, it's my story, but it's my mother's story as well. And being able to see my mother thrive after years of not seeing her thrive because of her own trauma, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that we both are happy. I mean, that's all I have ever wanted in my life, is to see both of us happy. And so
that's beautiful.
That's a blessing.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And it's amazing. And if you guys haven't shared this out, everybody should be pressing share right now, because they are not just breaking curses in their lives, but it's the opportunity for curses to be broken in the lives of so many people. Because as Black people in our collective community, we have a very don't tell, don't talk, hush, don't tell my business, unspoken rule that goes on and goes on. And so to see a mother encouraging a daughter right now who is exposing the business for the sake and the name of healing herself and other people, this is life changing. This is really beautiful and a glorious thing that we're getting the opportunity to see.
And another thing is that what I appreciate too is that you guys are saying, especially again to piggyback on what Nigeria said, in our communities, we do not talk about getting help. We don't talk about getting psychiatric help and going to talk to a counselor, going to talk to a social worker or somebody that can help us, because again, let's go back to the church. We're always saying, pray about it, pray about it. But yeah, you need to pray about it and find a practical application to deal with it. And that's one thing that we have to make sure that we're looking at. Charlotte said, living in a city is affecting my health. My trigger, need to relocate. Yes, ma'am. It's time to move.
and what really makes me happy is I have 2 daughters. So with me and my mother being happy and in a great place, I see so much difference between me and my children. Like the way that I was as a child is not the way that my children are. They are very free. They live like they don't have a care in the world. And that is what makes me happy more than anything.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Charlotte also said, ha, 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 stalker. Yeah, she said she's a stalker. Shannan Harper said, you are so blessed in that aspect, Jessica. Charlotte also said, nothing like a mom's love. Yes, indeed. And Shannan stated, we need to stop that. That's why so many of our children and adults are broken. So in other words, stop not talking and putting things in the closet. Charlotte, she responded, yes. Y'all, they're having a conversation in the feed, so I'm just reading the conversation. Absolutely. Women hold more of our burden hold more of our burden. We have to work on perseverance. Yes, most definitely. As women, y'all, we believe it or not, we are almost out of time, guys, ladies. Y'all, we have been on here way too long. So what I want us to do to close out tonight's show, I'm going to read, well, we got a couple more comments. You're about the not talking about, oh, okay, yes, about the not talking about our issues. Yes, I totally agree, Shannan, I got it. Margarita said, that is why we are strong. Nigeria is 100% about our culture being ashamed and turning towards counseling. We are definitely taught to keep everything a secret. And yes, we are. Even as growing up in our communities, especially in the people in our age group, we were taught not to talk. Don't tell our business. We got to keep everything in. And so now I feel like we're coming to a turning point that we are talking more. So if you guys had one thing or would like to say one thing in our closing, especially with our closing about the month, with our month of perseverance, what would you say to the people that are watching tonight? We can start with Dina.
Well, let's say, it's going to be hard. I mean, people tend to think that if you're strong or if you're going to be able to get through something, that you're not going to have to go through it, but you do have to go through it. And that's okay. That's part of the path.
Nigeria?
Okay. Well, in terms of perseverance, I want to say and add on to something that Dina said earlier, and we didn't get to deal with it, but what she said, which is when you are persevering, you have to talk about what's going on, or you're not going to get through. You're not going to persevere. You're going to break down. You're not going to be able to get over it. So if you do not have a partner, you don't have a confidant, you don't have a prayer warrior that you can go to who is going to be able to support you while you share, this is what's happening, and give you strength for the journey so you can keep going. Somebody like in a relay race, they're waiting at the marathon, giving the runners water. You need that water break so you don't break down and you can make it to the end. Take your water break. Take it.
Exactly. Well, y'all, we got some people in the comments that are fussing. Jessica, I didn't forget about you. Charlotte said, no, we just started. Then Shannan came on and said, Charlotte, they always do us that way. Charlotte said, and I want to go back to Charlotte because I want Jessica not only to give us our parting words, but also to deal with this. Charlotte said, I am mature and very private. So Jessica, in this land of perseverance, I get that statement, but deal with it. And then how would you discuss this with Charlotte?
I mean, because you're mature, and that means that you know that this life is not going to be 1 million days. So that means that you can choose. It's a choice to, take a look at what you need to do so you can improve the quality of the days that you have left. You are living on a clock that is upside down. The minutes are ticking away minute by minute. So it's your choice. You want to have a better quality of life. You deserve better. So working on doing what you need to do to get to where you want to be, persevere to do that. You deserve a better life.
Amen. Amen. Charlotte said, wow, I must find the times for this, for this, Shannan. And yes, we come on every Thursday. Make sure you're checking us out. She says she's tired of twerk, makeup, and psychic shows on Facebook. No learning. Yes, honey. Make sure you join the team. Crickets, LOL. No, yes, we are here to teach. We are here to share and spill the tea on what all of us are going through, especially in our families and in our communities. Shannan said, that's why I support them, Charlotte. They are so great with these conversations. Oh, thank you, Shannan.
Thank you, Shannan.
And so we want to be our voice in the community, so you can have the behind the scenes conversations with the authors. And Jessica, share with us one more time about your book and what you do and how we can contact you.
Okay, well, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a writer, and I'm a blogger. You can find me online at jessicatfauntleroy.com. There you can get connected to my blog, you can get connected to my books, and I also have a YouTube channel. So you can get connected to all of those through my website. And this is my newest book, Choosing to Live Royal, a West Baltimore Story, which is currently available on Amazon.com.
Awesome, awesome. And then my note to everybody for perseverance is don't give up. Remember, the race is not given to the swift, but to the one that endures to the end. Y'all don't think that just because you got a roadblock, a door closes, that you can't make it to the finish line. Make sure you take it all the way through, because the finish line is where you want to go. Shannan said she's headed over to YouTube. Thank you, Shannan. Thank you, Charlotte. I love you, intelligent authors. Oh, thank you, Charlotte. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And remember, who's telling your story?
The tea.
All right, guys. Love you to life. Have a great evening.
Good night.
And make sure you like and share this video with your friends so they can catch us on the next show. Yes. Have a great one.